Put a finger down if you met a nice, God-fearing man who just happened to play football. You guys hit it off, your relationship moves very quickly, and you become almost immediately immersed in his life as an NFL player, becoming a wag and all the things. You guys start talking about marriage, you meet his friends and family, and things are going really well. Then you find out that you're pregnant. You've never wanted to be pregnant, but he's super excited, and you guys ultimately decide to keep it a secret. Then, shortly after, this God-fearing man stops acting like one, begins cussing, hanging out with friends, and going to the strip club. He assures you that that's going to change, he commits to doing better, and then he's involved in a huge media scandal. So the behavior gets worse. He then signs to a new team, so you travel up to New Jersey to find somewhere to live for the season. After finding somewhere to live, you decide to have a conversation with him, because before moving your pregnancy care and your entire life to a new state, you want to confirm that he's no longer engaging in these bad behaviors. He refuses to engage in the conversation, and you decide to leave and go home. You get on a flight that day, your mom picks you up, and you decide to tell your close friends and family, as they're now your support system. You then go to your midwife appointment alone because he doesn't show up. Not only that, your car gets broken into that day and everything taken. You go back home and he doesn't contact you for 4 weeks. Then you get a text on Mother's Day, he flies down to see you so you can talk. After talking, you ultimately decide to go back to New York so that you both get to experience the pregnancy and that he can have a bond with his child. You move all your things up to New Jersey, and 4 days in, he goes out and doesn't come home. He comes home at 3 p.m. the next day and immediately packs a suitcase to go out of state. You remind him that you have a mandatory childbirth class to attend in order to give birth in New Jersey. He assures you that he'll be back for it, but you know better. So you fly your mom up to attend the childbirth class with you, and he doesn't come home for 4 days. At this point, you're in your 3rd trimester, so you just focus on making the house a home and getting prepared for your baby. Then you're 34 weeks pregnant, and you decide you want to take a baby moon before you give birth. He's going to Puerto Rico for a football camp, and you guys agree that that's a perfect time to take the baby moon. He flies out ahead of you because you have to attend the mandatory childbirth class. After the class, he's unresponsive, so you cancel your flight. He contacts you, you rebook your flight for the next day. Before you get on the flight, you confirm that he's going to be picking you up from the airport. You land in Puerto Rico after midnight, 35 weeks pregnant, and he's unresponsive. You make your way to the hotel and get your own room, and then the next day, you find him in his hotel room with a girl. You're obviously not happy, but a little relieved that you finally have some physical.
Whew. That was a lot. Let me let her finish.
Proof that he's been cheating on you. You have a conversation and weigh your options. Ultimately, you have no options because your midwife back home can no longer take you. You're too far along. You have to go back to New Jersey with him. You prepare for the arrival of your baby. You fly your mom up for the birth and postpartum. And he's the best birth partner that you could ever ask for. And suddenly you feel justified in all the decisions that you made leading up to it. And then 2 days after your baby's born, he gets a season-ending injury. So you no longer have any physical help. Then 1 week postpartum, he stops speaking to you entirely. And you live together. Then 2 weeks postpartum, his mom shows up without you knowing and is staying for an indefinite amount of time. In a 1-bedroom, 1-bathroom apartment, he's still not speaking to you. A couple weeks later, he gets his surgery on his season-ending injury, and on the same day, you have to take your newborn baby to the hospital and discover that your baby is immunocompromised. You put new boundaries and rules in place for the household to protect your baby. He continues to make decisions that expose your baby to dangerous conditions. So you start planning on how you're going to leave as soon as you're stable enough. And then you get a call one night that he's been every single night in the hospital with your newborn baby. One night, he asks you to leave the hospital early, and then he comes home later that night on a rampage. He gets arrested, you get a restraining order, you pack your things, and you leave. You come back home, and then you end up in a 4-month-long court battle.
Yeah, it's a lot to be said to this, and I'll start here. A lot of times, people get in relationships and she said, "Oh, you never wanted to be pregnant." I'm not buying that. I'm not buying it. Because when you're grown, you don't just get pregnant. You know what I mean? Like, you don't just end up pregnant. We all know what has to happen. You're not using any contraception. You're obviously, she wasn't on birth control. You're not just like caught off guard that you're pregnant, for the most part. It takes some willing and dealing, you feel me? to pop up pregnant. And it's just interesting. And I'm gonna give my thoughts, but I think this is also part of the video. So let me play it, and I'll give my thoughts at the end.
I just don't think a God-fearing man would get you pregnant out of wedlock. I don't think that either of you were thinking about God. And I'm not even. If we're going to use Christianity as reasoning for our decisions, let's actually make sure the behaviors align. You didn't get pregnant on accident. You were sleeping with him before.
That's the point I was making earlier. And that willing and dealing, not only were you sleeping with him, you know what I'm saying? Y'all were willing and dealing all the way through to the end. You feel me?
Before you got married, before you ever got engaged. I think that you wanted an NFL baby. And saying NFL wag makes it sound better, but it's really just baby mama. Somebody in the comments said that you put yourself through a lot. I agree. I think that you did this to yourself, unfortunately. Yes, he is horrible, but he was never God-fearing. And I'm wondering how you met him. Did you meet at church? What made you think that he feared the Lord? What made you think that? Like,
Yeah, I'd have to agree. It's easy to point the finger and all of that, right? But if we're being honest, we don't really know, if he's a God-fearing man. We don't have enough context. But what we can do in situations like this is kind of just read the room, assess behavior, right? So God-fearing man, okay, cool, we'll give you that. But you're knocking a woman up, and then this type of behavior. I'm not gonna say you don't fear God, but I'm gonna say there needs to be there. Let me make sure y'all can hear me. There needs to be a level of accountability for how you're behaving. Like there should be somebody in your life that we can all speak to and say, oh yeah, yeah, we know this guy. He's a man of faith. He's walking upright. He's striving. No one's perfect, so we're not even talking about perfection. But at the end of the day, it's just like to say he was a man of God. God-fearing man. I don't think that's far-fetched. Like you could be God-fearing and really be in a bad season of your life. You can have mental illness. There could be a lot of things. But even with that, like I don't think it's wise to start like doing things to where you can end up having children. And it's easy to just kind of like speak our opinions on this, but this is what I think the takeaway is. You have to be honest with yourself. For her to say I went through all of this and she never sat down. If he's supposed to be a God-fearing man, I'm assuming since that's something that she liked, she should have been a God-fearing woman. And it doesn't seem like either one of them were gleaning from their faith. It just seemed like they were just kind of living through their own desires, living through their flesh. And it's easy to get caught up in that. And I don't want to, like I say, just jump on them about that, because hey, you can find yourself in a season to where you're doing some things that's not reflective of your faith. And if you don't have the right structure, you don't have the right accountability, fellowship set up in your life, people who can speak to you and call you higher, you can find yourself in a really dark place, So, unfortunately there's a child involved, but fortunately children are blessings from the Lord. And, hopefully the child will be not just a blessing to their life, but they be a blessing to the child in the sense that, they're able to grow up and just kind of get some structure that would help the child have a healthy childhood, and then for them to have whatever kind of relationship they're going to have, whether it's just going to be a co-parenting relationship or if they're actually going to get in a relationship. Something has to give. But I do also want to say this. When a man, as a man, say he's a man of faith, don't look for perfection. Look for conviction. Look for accountability. Look for awareness. Look for someone who has mentorship, someone who has fellowship. Like, just look for things that he has, people, places, and things that he have in his life that call him higher. And vice versa for a woman. When she says she's a woman of faith, don't look for perfection. Look for almost like a system or a network of people, places, and things that she has in place to call her higher, that, tell her when she's, acting out and when she isn't, when she says something that she shouldn't have said, thinking a way that she shouldn't think. Like, these are the things, not necessarily looking at somebody in life and saying, hey, you did this, so you're no longer a God-fearing person. So I'll leave that with you. Y'all let me know what you think in the comment section. Connect with the brand online at www.there'shopebrand.com. If you haven't subscribed to the channel, and I'll catch y'all in the next video.